Live from clickorlando.com, this is News 6 at 5:30. This is a News 6 Plus takeover. Here now is Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells with Talk to Tom.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Talk to Tom. We have a great show lined up for you today. I am Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells. This is my favorite time of the week. Not that I don't love doing weather in front of you every day for 7 half-hour shows per day, but I especially love Talk to Tom time. This was a show that started back in 2004 during the hurricane season, just as something that we wanted to try to get going. It was something we wanted to start and let people at home ask us questions during the hurricane. And then it became an every storm thing, and then it became something I would do on Facebook, and now it's grown up to what you see today. Talk to Tom at 5:30 every Thursday, and always streaming on News 6 Plus. The show we have lined up for you today, we're going to talk about allergies. Lots of you I know suffer from allergies. I am blessed to not, but I know a whole lot of you do, and all that pollen on my dark vehicle has to be washed away. It is some kind of ugly. We're going to talk about why they're so thick, what you can do to battle them. But first, I'm here to answer your questions. Remember, anytime you have a question, something you'd like to ask, you can just send us a message on clickorlando.com/talk to Tom, and I will put it on here, maybe even get you on, and we'll do our best to give you an answer to what it is you want to know. First question straight out of the box today comes to us from our friend T. Gray McNeil, who asked, "Hey, Tom, when does the rainy season start?" Okay, we have 2 seasons here in Central Florida, dry season and rainy season, or calm season and the mean season. Most people think of the mean season as hurricane season from June 1 all the way to the end of November, and that is kind of true. But our biggest threat throughout the year is not just the impact from a hurricane that may or may not happen. Our biggest weather driver through the entire summer are the storms and the rainy season. And all of that really gets going at the end of May. Traditionally, the kickoff of the rainy season is somewhere around May 26th or 27th, and it runs until about the 2nd or 3rd week in October. What happens is that we start to get the sea breezes colliding. We've talked about this a lot on Talk to Tom, where we set up our air mass. You have to get enough low-level moisture before the storms start to kick in. So you may have a day when you get the sea breeze coming, you fire up a shower or two, but you can count on it, set your watch by it. Rainy season normally starts around May 26th or 27th, and it normally starts when the overnight low gets above about 72, right at 72 or above. The reason being, the temperature won't drop below about 71 or 72 if there's enough moisture to keep the heat in. So, if it's too dry, the temperature crashes into the 60s and the rainy season won't start. You get enough low-level moisture, temperature drops to about 72 at night, next day, chances are it's going to rain. That's a tip I learned from my friend Roy Karst. I call it the Karst rule or the Karst law, that rainy season normally starts end of May when the overnight low stops at 72 and not below. So there you go. Thank you, Mr. McNeil, for the question. Our friend Joe is a big motorcycle guy, and he popped this question to us. He said, "Tom, as a motorcycle rider yourself, could you please explain to people about the dangers of riding during a severe lightning storm? I've had many discussions with this, and people just don't seem to believe me." Okay, Joe, full disclosure, Joe is my friend Joe from Flagler County. He is the president of the Knights of the Inferno. I host their 9/11 memorial ride every 9/11, and I'm like an honorary or associate member of their group. I love them dearly. But Joe, great question. Here's the deal. You are not safe anytime you're outside in lightning. And it doesn't matter if it's a severe lightning storm or just a run-of-the-mill thunder shower with lightning. And if you've got rain going on and there's no lightning happening, you're kind of just, miserable. Riding in the rain gear, trying to hold the bike up, trying to keep it steady, avoiding puddles, trying to get blown off the road by the drivers busting by you in the rain. But if there is lightning, you are not safe. You need to take shelter. There is no way to outrun the lightning. You can't go fast enough that lightning won't strike you. Lightning does strike motorcyclists. I'm trying to remember when that was. I think it was the summer, like June of 2019. We had a motorcyclist die on I-95 coming down through Volusia County. He was from North Carolina, and he was driving his motorcycle down I-95, and he got struck right in the helmet. People saw it happen. and he tumbled down, took him right down, and he died. At the time he passed away, it wasn't for sure whether it was the lightning strike that got him or the crash and the impact of what it did to his internal organs that got him. But he was struck by lightning and he died. And so I would warn you that anytime you're outside on your motorcycle, just like anytime you're outside anyway, if you hear the thunder rumble, it's time to get yourself inside. Remember, if you can see it, flee it, get away from it. If you hear it, you have to fear it and take immediate action. Anytime you can hear thunder, you are in danger of being struck. Take cover immediately and wait until 30 minutes have passed since the last rumble of thunder. That's a good rule. Normally, you don't always die from a lightning strike. A lot of people do survive them, but it can really, really wreck your life. I've interviewed people who have been struck by lightning who are never the same. Their bodies don't work. Their internal systems don't work. Their digestive system doesn't work. They have to wear like colostomy bags. It's a mess. So you do not want to get struck by lightning. Normally, people get a side strike, or a strike will hit a tree and they feel a little bit of an impact. And we've interviewed people here and talked to Tom that have survived, coming out of ball games and whatnot. Those people are fortunate. They're lucky. But about 1/10 of all people who get struck by lightning do die. That would include motorcyclists. If you get struck by lightning on your bike, you've got twice the trouble because you're going down. So I want to say, since I've looked this up before, since about 2000, something like 20 to 30 people have died from motorcycle-related lightning strikes, but not all of them are traveling at the time. Some of them are just standing beside their bikes when they were struck. But out of lightning strike occurrences, about 1/10 of the people who are struck or nearly struck pass away. And normally those are direct strikes, boom, and they had like the gentleman on I-95, or a positive lightning strike that takes you away. You can have a negative strike or a positive strike. Positive ones are tough to survive. Great question, Joe. Please be careful out there riding. I hope to ride with you soon. All right. Our last one today comes to us from a man named Sam Gilkey from St. Cloud. Hey, Sam. I know Sam. I worked with Sam 1,000,000 years ago in Kentucky. At least I think it's the same Sam. I can't imagine there's more than one Sam Gilkey in Kissimmee, St. Cloud. Here's Sam's question. Tom, you and the others on TV look like you just stepped out of GQ or some other fashion shoot. Do you buy your suits off the rack, or are they custom made? Well, Sam, great question. My suits are not custom made. They used to be. But for the most part, I buy them straight off the rack, normally on sale at Nordstrom, buddy. And then get them tailored to fit you better is what I normally do. Size 40 regular, tighten it up. That's my normal thing. So no, they're not custom made anymore for most of us. And I don't think really you're referring to me, even though you said you look like you. You did say you. I thought you were talking about, Troy and Matt and Jonathan, the younger crowd, all wearing tight clothes. But yes, we all are groomed up, fashioned up, trying to look as responsible and respectable and as we can. Back when I started at TV 43 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, back in those days, Sam, I did look like mama's little boy, and I did not have a budget that would support great suits. But once I got to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, my friend Tim Kenny and Bill Christian put me on a clothing allowance, and I was able to buy better suits. And once you start buying better suits, it's kind of like being smart. You can't go back to being stupid. Once you get better clothes, you're like, I'm not going back to that crap I used to wear. I'm not wearing that stuff. And so, yeah, you tend to want to buy only name brand stuff. Tom James, Armani, Robert Graham. You'll buy different stuff. So just get it tailored. That's why it fits well. And you treat them better as you grow older, too. And once you have 10 suits, they age better than if you only have the one. So thank you very much, Sam, for your question. They're normally off the rack, size 40 regular and tailored to fit me better. There you go. Hey, thank you for your questions today. Remember, you can always submit questions anytime by going to clickorlando.com/talk-to-Tom, and stick around as we talk about the weather and your allergies. Those details are coming up next. All right. Welcome back to Talk to Tom. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells. Thank you so much for sticking around for this half of the show. I can't thank you enough for being here. Earlier, we were answering your questions here on Talk to Tom. Remember, you can always submit a question to be answered anytime by simply going to clickorlando.com/. Talk to Tom. We'd love to know what you want to know about. So submit those questions, get them in. Right now, we want to shift gears. We're turning to another important issue influenced by the weather. That would be allergies. Please welcome to the show the fabulous, the one and only, the superstar, my dear friend, meteorologist Julie Broughton. She is part of our weather team here at News 6, and she's here today to join us for the first time ever on Talk to Tom.
It's exciting.
Isn't it, though?
It is. It's your big show.
Thank you for being here. She's going to be shedding some light on why there is so much sneezing and wheezing going on in Central Florida. So talk to me, Jules. What is happening? Why are we having so much of that going on right now?
It's not good. Do you have allergies?
I actually am blessed.
This?
I'm blessed by God to not have too much trouble with that. I sneeze from time to time, but I don't feel bad. I don't get congested. I don't have a bad sound. It never takes away my voice. My head does not ache. I know other people really go through pain with this, but I'm blessed, knock on wood, by the Lord, not to have. I have allergies, but not to pollen.
Yeah, so many people just dealing with so much pain right now. If you look at your car, you see it's just covered in that goo. And looking back really over like the last 30 days, our area specifically has been in the high range for pollen for the last 30 days. And checking things out, Orlando over the last few days has been ranked as one of the top 5 worst cities in the country for pollen. So we're dealing with oak, we're dealing with bayberry, we're dealing with all sorts of stuff that just is making things really miserable for people right now. And as you know, what we need is a lot of rain to wipe all this out of here, but we're not quite to our rainy season yet.
Not even close, bud.
Right.
That comes along at the end of May. But honestly, in the last month or so, we have popped early and even earlier than normal. So tell the folks at home what those temperature swings do to impact those allergies.
Right. I mean, we've had readings in the 90s, I feel like several times over the last just couple of weeks, which has been so weird. But when we're talking about this hot weather, first of all, it makes things bloom earlier. The allergy season and the pollen season has gotten longer by about 20 days if you compare it to the last 30 years. So that is extending because our climate is getting warmer. And then with the hot weather, it's just nothing to wash it away. We don't have our afternoon thunderstorms. We're talking about everything blooming, and we're talking about just that hot, oppressive temperatures, and that is making things worse for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's been blustery too. Try to explain about the wind. It's not only the rain, but also the wind. Right?
Right. The wind, for example, when you think about pollen, picture your car when you walk outside and look at your car right now. I know that we're all dealing with seeing kind of that yellow film on our cars. Well, that pollen is just that very fine powder. So it really doesn't take much wind to carry that. When we're talking about ragweed can be carried by wind hundreds of miles. So even if, say, ragweed's not blooming in your area, if it's blooming somewhere, downwind from you, then that could be coming into your area. So when we're talking about no rain, hot temperatures, and wind, it really is just such a recipe for misery. And you talk to people and you hear people sniffling. I know a lot of the people we work with here are dealing with that. You'll notice I have on no eyeliner. That's because yesterday looked like I was crying all day. And I'm like, you know what? There's no eyeliner. That's how we're going today.
So you're avoiding the Alice Cooper look or the Gene Simmons look.
Yes, especially when it's involuntary.
I do understand. All right, well, talk to people for just a moment about, you have a child, and obviously you battle. And one of the things you said, you're not wearing eyeliner today. What can people do besides living on Claritin? What can they do to reduce the sneezing and the watery eyes?
Yeah, that is a tough one. If you think about the pollen, a lot of people think that's probably the highest in the afternoon, but it actually peaks in the morning hours. So if you are making outdoor plans, the best time to do that would be later in the afternoon when the pollen levels start to go down a little bit, or if we're lucky enough to get some rain after the rain can come through and kind of wash away that for us. Also, we're talking about changing our air filters a lot because those allergens get caught in those filters. So if they're not clean, that can then circulate through your house. And then if you've been outside, come home, take a shower, pollen can get stuck in your hair. I know a lot of us like dry shampoo and maybe don't want to do the washing every day, but if you deal with allergies, that does help. And then this tip, I don't follow myself, but if your dog likes to go outside, wash him or maybe not let him sleep in your bed. But, Jake is always front and center in my bed, golden doodle.
I do understand. I do not sleep with my dog, but that's about the only limit that we have. He goes everywhere. We don't wash him down every day. That's a lot of work. All right.
That is work.
We've covered allergies pretty much. We've got about 3 minutes to go here. I want to talk about you because this is your first time here on Talk to Tom.
Yes.
You are a valued member of my weather team. I handpicked, I tell people this all the time. I pretty much handpicked every single one of the dudes and dudettes on that team because I want to make sure that we all get along, everybody flows. It's
Yes.
And that's always, the mixing of the cocktail or the baking of the cake or the recipe that you have.
Yeah.
It's part of the mystery magic that goes on in a weather team is that we all get along and everyone has to love each other, has to care for each other, has to. How did Julie Broughton become a meteorologist? What happened? You didn't start out as a child going, oh, I love the lightning.
No. I do have to say, for folks who don't know, I always joke that if it weren't for Tom Sorrells, I would live in a van down by the river because I was not working, had no intention of working. You called me and said, hey, come work with us. And then, a few months later, I found myself a single parent. So, I always like to thank you for that. But
You're
I actually
welcome.
became a meteorologist thanks to a news director in Evansville, Indiana, who saw me. I had applied for a weekend anchor job, and he called me and he said, hey, I filled that position, but I would love for you to come work for me and I'll pay for you to go to meteorology school and we'll train you. And I think you could be really great at weather. So that was Bob Freeman at WFIE in Evansville, Indiana. So he really started it all for me in that regard.
Okay, but you had been doing television already, and you have a
Yes.
college degree. You went to IU
Yes.
in Bloomington.
Yes. Yes, I have a degree in psychology from IU, Bloomington, and then I was working in West Virginia doing pretty much everything in Oak Hill, West Virginia. Those tiny markets where you anchor, report, edit, produce,
Become a weather
do weather,
person.
all yes, all on the same day. So
Right.
that's where I was working when Bob in Evansville saw me.
Wait. You have a degree in psychology? I thought that was English.
You
have a
didn't know that?
That scares me now. What does
No.
psychologist Julie Broughton think? I don't even want to know. Do you psychoanalyze me? I mean,
I've actually, I don't think I've told you this. I'm seriously considering continuing and getting my master's in psychology because that was always my backup plan. And I'm like, we
Wow.
could use that with everything we do.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
do therapy for other folks later. Sure.
Exactly.
That'd be great. I had no clue, no idea. All right.
How did you not know that?
I don't know. I thought I knew
Not
everything
we-
about you. Apparently I
Wow,
don't. If
surprise.
I had seen there again, had I known that, I might not have picked you. I'd be like, I don't want some person psychoanalyzing my style, my thoughts.
Yeah,
So
that's
talk to me
helpful.
about your first job was where straight? Was it West Virginia?
Oak Hill, West Virginia, market at the time 147.
And then
So they're two-
from there to Evansville?
From there to Evansville, from Evansville to Chicago, from Chicago to Orlando at a different station in town where I worked for 7 years. And then I took a few years off to have a baby and get married and do all that stuff. And then Tom Sorrells called me one day and I said, I'll help you out till Christmas. And that was August 2010, and I never left.
And look at you now. Look at you
That's
now.
right.
Okay,
That's
so
right. You have to drag me out.
people will ask from time to time, do you miss doing weather full time? Because for those of you who have not watched, Julie anchors 9 a.m. and then again at 4 p.m. newscast. She's become a news anchor per se. But if there's a tornado on the ground, I'll start yelling, Julie, Julie. So do you miss doing weather full time or not?
Sometimes I feel like I do. I really like my schedule and my life with what I'm doing now. But the good news is that I do get to step back into weather when you guys need help, or if you don't want a hurricane, but there is, I usually get called back to weather. So I do get a taste of it now and then.
Here's an off-the-wall crazy question. Let's talk about the Reverend Julie Broughton. You became
Yes.
an ordained minister, and you do officiate at some weddings, correct?
Yeah, I think I've done maybe 5 or 6. I married my 9 a.m. producer, Haley, and her husband. They just had their 2nd anniversary, I think.
So
Yeah.
it stuck.
Yeah. I have a pretty good track record. I think all of my weddings have stuck. So fingers crossed. And I actually love doing it. At first, I was like, how am I going to feel about this? But it's great. It's fun.
So you've done 5, did you say 5 or 6 or how many?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I married my hairstylist and his husband. I married one of our former promotions producers and her wife, Haley, our producer. I married my friend Ebony and her husband. I married some people I don't know. So yeah, I've done quite a few.
That's awesome. So there you go. If you don't do psychology, maybe the Reverend Julie Broughton is in your future.
Very diverse.
All right, Julie Broughton, thank you so much. Remember, if you have questions you'd like to have answered right here on Talk to Tom, just go to clickorlando.com/Talk to Tom and submit your questions. And you can watch us anytime on News 6 Plus. See you next Thursday afternoon. Bye.